to the topic we have at hand, that is rising insecurity, and perhaps this might be the clarion call for state police. Who knows, maybe that might be the answer to all these issues we are having when it comes to insecurity in Nigeria. So let's quickly start with that. How far do you think this state policing could go in curbing insecurity in Nigeria?
The concept, the real concept in terms of the concept itself, state police is a no-brainer. It's something that we should know. Policing, security, provision of security is best done when it comes from the grassroots. Every crime, as we are told, or most crimes, are perpetrated from the lookers, or have an impute with. There's a homegrown component of it. So it becomes anachronistic in the sense that someone who, for example, doesn't understand my language comes to police in my area. That makes no sense. So the original idea, the concept of state police, is what has given the practice. What you see in the Western world is what gives effective security. So it's something that we should not be talking in terms of concept. Now, coming to practice, that's where we have challenges. Because of, I don't know, we call it our peculiar nature as Nigerians, I don't know. But now, if you are going to commence state police with states as they are, how many states are able to fund their monthly overhead costs in terms of payment of salaries to civil servants and staff? How many? How many states can survive without the handouts, the monthly handouts from the federal government? State police should be something that should aid, and I believe in many states, if it is passed as a law, it could aid security. But don't forget that security is not just to put on the uniform and go out there. They must be equipped. There has to be something that will work and focus more on intelligence gathering. And intelligence gathering is no tea party. It means someone can disguise, take football, go to play. It's a security person. Can employ young people. Some international agencies, security agencies, do that very effectively. And people don't know. Many of their operatives disguise and come in as taxi drivers, come in just to get intelligence. It will need a lot to do. But if it's done right, it's going to be so effective. Okay? But I also fear two things. One, I hope the state governors will not use state police against their perceived opponents. Abuse. Because most times, it's what we see in Nigeria, where power is being abused. And secondly, like I earlier said, these people must be well trained and equipped. Otherwise, what is going on in Kaduna State, Zamfara State, and co. will be child's play. So it has to be something well implemented, but as a concept, it's something that it's a sine qua non if we are going to get this issue right.
Okay, and I think it is very good news that the Defense Headquarters and even Kaduna State Governor this morning, they gave all Nigerians the good news that they've been able to rescue some of these kidnapped students. Although information on it is scanty, we don't know how they went about it. We don't know if any of the terrorists were apprehended. All we just know is they said that about 137 of the students are being rescued. So we sincerely hope and pray that the remaining ones too would be gotten back safely, safe and sound, like they are for this first 137. Now, still on insecurity, let us take a look at how the lack of perhaps adequate policing is making us suffer in Nigeria. We'll be taking this issue of Delta State for example, the one of the Okwama community in the Ughelli South Africa government area of Delta State, where police went on a peacekeeping mission, the army rather, went on a peacekeeping mission, and they were brutally murdered. Although it is alleged that they reacted, although even when the state governor went there, he did not speak to journalists about the state of how things are there. But we did have reports that came out with some videos that show that the community really was on fire. So let us look at the consequences of the acts of the military, although we know that it is very sad. So I'm directing this question to Professor Sami Rugo. What are your thoughts on, in the first place, sending military men to do perhaps what should have been the work of policemen, and then the retaliation of soldiers?
The issue of Delta State and what happened there should give every Nigerian cause for place. Is still a confirmation that they are unable to cope with the reality in our communities. That area is no go area for the police. So if police is intervening in Nigeria, so, and we all know that they for okay, what they hear is go, war, shoot, and that is here now. It gets mind that something is wrong. Men dressed in Nigerian army uniform, everything to show that they are Nigerian army, to kill them. They want to kill all of them. Those of us that are not and were in trouble in Nigeria, what would blame the army for going to intervene since police do the whether their reaction of burn now, killing everybody. Of course, we all know that like the culprit, the suspect, the real people who will have, of course, they will kill and maim the children themselves. Happened in the president. We also saw it happen in the we go in and want to destroy. That is what is happening in the community in Delta State as we speak. And the question is, to that extent, instead of looking for those responsible for their colleagues, only 50 of them, but we know that hoodlums in hundreds, and the army has not gone in there with impunity, which is not acceptable. While we commiserate with the families of the deceased army men, should dictate that those responsible for the killing, like the rule of truth, actually hunt them in accordance with the rules of law, not to destroy community where will kill the innocent. Of course, those who solve the problem will not be the ones that will wait in the community to be. They are the aged children, women who are helpless. It brings to see on army road in the country. What you see there is the army boys embarrass every innocent person through the roadblocks. But we know very well that most of the criminals not want to cross those areas. As for the east, you see them. I see Airport Junction. If you go there, even as we speak, the army boys on road of who are in commercial vehicles to come down. Is that can be security, for Christ's sake? So impunity has to be checked. The rule of, even when people are killed, let the rule of law prevail. There are very, many ways of getting this criminal. Definitely by destroying the community, causing, destroying on your way to that place. No, that is not acceptable. And that's my own position. And I think government and those in power, those in charge of, should train and advise who ordinarily civil duty care of what they do, because nobody, brother, sister will have been killed in the process.
What are your thoughts on the act itself and then the reaction of the Nigerian army?
Well, just like the learned prof said, two wrongs cannot make a right. Nowhere. And then if you even follow the narrative of the reaction, this is coming how many years after we had Zaki Biam? Of course, like you said, we had OD in Bayelsa State under Chief Olusegun Obasanjo as president. We had Zaki Biam in Benue State. Where the army went and destroyed, entire communities in reaction to having some of their personnel killed. Of course, we see the army also being killed in most parts of the north central, and without same or similar reaction. Of course, we could say that the warfare there is asymmetric. We may not pin it down to a specific community. But this coming years after that shows us that we are not yet there in terms of, one, even instilling confidence in the people to come forward in times of crisis. If truly the police, if the crisis there had overwhelmed the police, then do you think the army, with the nature of the crisis, is it the type the army should have been brought in to solve? Where you have communal crisis, is it not what you deal, you bring in heads of communities, you keep jojoing, we had then very intractable crisis we had in Ife and Modakeke that lasted for years, took lives, but today they are living in peace side by side. You see it along in most borders of communities, even speaking the same language. So it speaks to our inability to handle some of these things scientifically. Moving the army, of course, we had so many versions to this. We had the version that says that the people that used to come to cause trouble, they came in army uniform, but they were under the control of a particular warlord living around there on the other side. So when they came prior to this one, they killed some people. So when the community boys now saw men in army uniform, they felt these are the same fake soldiers that were brought. They didn't look back in slitting their throats and decapitating them. The nature of death is also quite horrific. And I began to think, is it possible that these things could be done to army officers by people who knew they are truly army officers? Well, I don't know what uniform they came in. I don't know if their rank showed. But the mentality of the people that fought should also be put in place. It should also be checked and assessed. Did they really believe these were genuine soldiers, even if their rank showed? Judging from what they had gone through in the past, in the hands of men that came in army uniform. That's another version. There are many other versions out there. But it speaks to our lack of development, lack of progress as a nation, to come in this day and time, 2024, to have an entire community wiped out. Just like the earlier professor said, who will be met? The average Nigerian knows that if a soldier is killed opposite there, it won't take another 1 hour, the entire place will be cordoned. So those that could make it out of the area will quickly make it out of there to safety. And by the time the soldiers come in, who do you think they will meet there? 99% chances that they are the very innocent people. But the nature of their training, they will first start with wiping the place out. Of course, the DHQ, Defense Headquarters, said whatever happened there is not the handiwork of soldiers. No problem, nobody is arguing with you, but Nigerians, they have a right to their own thoughts and what they believe. You can't take that away from a human being. They believe the army did it. And I also begin to think and look at the training of our men. Many of them have died in combat, peace to their souls. They have died protecting Nigeria. But I believe that even the major curriculum of our military schools should be looked at. You see the army in the Western nations as friends of the people. That when a soldier is going, somebody can go and hug him.
Thank you for your service.
Thank you for your service. They welcome them home. The army comes to tell you, come and be part of us. They show you what will attract you to join them. And so many people have done that. I remember a picture I saw at the end of the Hurricane Katrina in 2006 or so, many years back. We had this terrible hurricane. And soldiers were patrolling, helping. Of course, we had the National Guard, that's in the US. And I remember seeing a general look at two soldiers and tell them to put the muzzle of their guns down. They were holding guns like this. He told them, no, put it down. And they immediately obeyed him. And what was that? Professionalism. You don't go about with guns this way. You the muzzle. It touched me. I felt something seeing that picture. I said, wow. And you could see people. So, but for us here, what is their training? The average person goes in there to kill, to become a lord over the civilians. That's why they call the average civilian a bloody civilian. And does that enhance the nature of the war? Does that even enhance results? So I have high respect for the armed forces of Nigeria. But part of what we see in Okwama, sorry for the loss of the soldiers and the people too, it still brings us back to that same question of how do we get even soldiers involved? What's their training like? And all of that. Because ideally, the police well trained, whether as federal or state. Of course, if the state police comes up today and they are well trained, I believe some of these crises can be nipped in the bud.
All right. Thank you so much for sharing your views with us on the program. It has been so interesting.